come check out our D&D 5e actual play podcast, Super Quest Saga, the show where Will, Brian, your special guest Jake, and friend of the show Josh Freeland sit around the table and play some Dungeons and Dragons in space. It's Will's homebrew sci-fi space opera campaign. Find it on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Super Quest Saga!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from infuriating fairies to faceless foes. And today, we're talking about Flumphs.
The Dungeoncast. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Will.
So last December, we ended the year on one of the biggest and meanest D&D monsters there are, the Tarrasque.
Oh, yeah.
So this year, I decided that we're going to end on one of the smallest and nicest D&D monsters, the Flumph.
The Flumph.
So Flumphs are...
That dichotomy. I love it.
Flumphs are mysterious and benevolent aberrations, famous for their whimsical nature, their silly, if somewhat gross appearance, and being extraordinarily fragile monsters. The Flumph is a D&D original, and in some ways, it's a D&D icon.
Okay, cool. It's the Cool Whip of the monster world.
It's the Cool Whip of the monster world, yeah. In some ways, a Flumph looks like a terrestrial jellyfish. Its body is shaped like an oblong saucer, about 2.5 feet in diameter. That's 0.76 meters. Atop their body is a mouth-like orifice that sits between two eye stalks, each about a foot long. Around the sides of its saucer-like body are 8 small holes. On the underside dangles a couple dozen or so tentacles that conceal a cluster of small spikes on its center, like belly area.
Ugh.
Yeah, so
I
it's
thought
not,
I was gonna get a much cuter description.
Their depictions is quite cute, but I'm also being anatomically correct in this description.
Well, yeah, because maybe those things aren't always like extremely visible. It sounds
No,
like some of
all
these things
that's extremely visible. It's
Really?
just a matter of they tend to be drawn more cartoonishly.
Yeah, okay.
So when you picture this in like a more realism type look, it's like, oh my.
It sounds more like a Lovecraftian horror than
and it is an aberration.
than a dessert topping.
Indeed. So these bizarre creatures are airborne at all times. They float about.
Nice.
They live in
That's
the
how I wanna
Underdark.
be.
Right. They live in the Underdark, and they float about by means of an innate anti-gravity field that they produce.
They live in the Underdark. I feel like we've touched on this creature so
We have.
much. Like,
We have.
Did we go over that at some point?
Yeah, we
Probably.
did in the Underdark episode.
Jesus. So they are not supposed to be. They are horrifying.
No, I mean they're supposed to be adorable and they're very nice.
But they're Underdark creatures.
They are Underdark.
Oh, they're
creatures.
very nice.
They're extraordinarily nice. Yes.
Oh. Well then.
They move using air jets as propulsion. So they take in air through the orifice on top of their bodies and expel it through however many of the smaller holes on its sides that it needs to move in a direction. So it puffs about. This airflow makes a sound that the Flumph is named for. It's named after the sound it makes as it moves.
This is a fart monster.
It's a fart monster. Welcome to the last episode of this year. This is the fart monster.
Welcome.
Shit's about to get a lot grosser, actually, so I'm just warning you now.
Check spoilers. Check this fart monster out. We got lots of lore on it. Let's go.
So although Flumphs are a complexion of either white, brown, or yellow, they give off a glowing light that is that's color is dependent on the mood of said Flumph. They glow pink if they're amused, blue if they're sad, green if they're curious, and red if they're angry.
Oh my god.
So like many other D&D monsters we've talked about, there are essentially 2 versions of the Flumph. One from before 3rd edition and the one we have now. They're both lawful good creatures in nature, but the older version of the Flumph is a bit more mundane and odd, while the current version is a bit more magical and mystical.
Ari Salvatore didn't mention that Drizzt Do'Urden was carried out of the Underdark by a team of Flumphs.
By a team of Flumphs, yeah. So the Flumph of 1st and 2nd edition was a creature with the intelligence level equal to that of an average human. Though unable to speak, they had a form of sign language that could be communicated via their tentacles.
Nice, that's really cool.
These Flumphs lived as nomadic underground hunters that fed upon small vermin such as rats, lizards, or frogs. The way they ingested their prey is actually pretty gross, so we're going to go over it.
Yes.
When one of these Flumphs finds prey, it will hover a foot or two above its target before dropping down and impaling their prey on its spike cluster, which is on its belly. Once this is done, the Flumph will use its acidic tentacles to secrete digestive acids onto the skewered corpse. Once this is done, the Flumph will cocoon the body in its tentacles as the body digests, and its nutrients are absorbed through the said through tentacles.
Wonderful. At least it stops farting for a little bit.
Yeah, that's just hilarious. So he's like, poof, and you just got this impaled rat, and it just starts melting it with its tentacles. It's so gross.
Yeah, it's like a spider almost, or some kind of insect that does.
I didn't know any of this. Like when I thought of the Flumph, I thought of the modern Flumph, which doesn't do any of this, which we'll talk about later. So this was all new to me, and it blew my mind. But
this is the old Flumph.
This is the old Flumph, first and second edition Flumph.
Okay,
so,
cool.
First and second edition also had a form of Flumph known as the monastic Flumph, considered to be a higher form of Flumph. These creatures are known to be of a slightly higher level of intelligence in comparison to their normal counterparts, and for having the ability to cast cleric spells.
Okay.
These Flumphs live in groups called cloisters, where they share knowledge and worship gods unknown to humanoids.
And those gods are like, farts are natural. Don't let them get you down.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
They're like, that's why we worship you, God. Thank you.
They make them feel better of themselves. So, according to Dragon Magazine number 246, in Ecology of the Flumph, it was discovered that monastic Flumphs are not actually a higher form of Flumph as much as normal Flumphs are a lower form of Flumph. More specifically, normal Flumphs are the mutant idiot offspring of monastic Flumphs.
Oh my gosh.
Roughly 10% of monastic Flumphs, birthing buds, which is how they procreate asexually via birthing buds, grow into mutated, less intelligent Flumphs.
This is like the same mentality of like the Pokemon Company when they wrote the Magikarp Pokedex entry or something.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Can you imagine? Like, it's just like, this creature is bunk. Like, like a Gary Gygax or somebody just like writing the Flumph stat block like...
Yeah, so that's the old Flumph. I don't know if you got any other questions about the old Flumph.
Monastic Flumphs.
The monastic Flumphs. Yeah.
Excellent. These are not the bar for Flumphs is low. It's set very low.
It is set low. They only get better from here, quite frankly.
Great.
So really quickly, before we take our short rest, the modern Flumph 3.5 and onward is quite a bit different. These Flumphs are tied very specifically to the Underdark and to psychic ability. They are considered to be wise and possess advanced knowledge of philosophy, mathematics, religion, and countless other subjects.
Okay, great.
But let's take a short rest before we get into the rest.
Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode we're not talking about the last thing we're talking about. We're talking about how much we love you. We love you so much. I love you so much. Tell him, Will.
Love is a many splendid thing. All you need is love. I love you.
How about Patreon? How about it?
How about that Patreon?
There's a link somewhere. Find it.
Probably below.
Go there.
In the description.
Below. The love below. It's filled with people that love us back, I think.
I think they do. They certainly are showing their love, and I appreciate it.
We love you guys. We're working hard to make new content for Patreon all the time. There's already a live game in there. If you like me and Will, and you like Super Quest Saga, and you like special guest Jake, there's a ton of that stuff. And our friend Steve in Flashbang and the Surgeon, which is a Batman the Animated Series comedy game. We take Batman the Animated Series episodes and make them into Dungeons & Dragons stuff. I dungeon master it. It's super fun. You get season 1 at the $5 tier. And as I finish episodes of season 2, I upload them into the $10 tier, and you get a season 1 episode also at the same time. So in the $5 tier, you get early episodes of this show that are ad-free. You get the Vault Raiders episodes, which are one-shot live games where I play a bear shark, and you can be you could just be listening to. You get a shout out on the show. You get what else you get at 5? There's like a lot of stuff.
At the 5? Oh, I don't even know. I think you said it all.
I think that was it. And then at the $10 tier, you get the brand new Flashbang and the Surgeon. As we record them, they come out.
Holiday specials.
All the holiday specials, which are
Danger.
like Ranger Danger, which
Halloween
was like
special.
Spring, the Halloween special, which is very cool Lovecraftian stuff, and you get OST, any original soundtrack that we make on the show is there, some cool sound bites. $20 tier is like merch stuff. We got our special What the Grump Schmuck mug. And we've got more plans for merch. Hopefully we've sorted that out. There's some logistical things that we've run into, hiccups and things. But thank you guys so much for being patrons and helping support the show. We do a lot of cool upgrades. I finally am not recording the show with my phone. It's so fucking liberating.
Indeed.
Yeah, thanks a lot. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks so much. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, just like everybody asked, even though I think subscriber count is pretty much like a moot number at this point. It seems like nobody really paying attention. Like, it's not as meaningful as like leaving a comment or leaving a like.
Oh, right. As actual activity. Yeah. But subs are great.
We appreciate it all.
Yeah.
Like, you just clicking on it, even if you don't do that other stuff, is really heartwarming. There's a really nice community of people that like Dungeons and Dragons and the Dungeoncast in our Discord, run by very many not us people that are extremely beautiful souls. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. If you're on Patreon, I will say again, please go into our Discord. There's a lot of cool extra stuff that you get by being a Patreon member in our Discord. Even if you want to be a patron of the $1 tier, which just includes like basically a shout out on the show.
You still get in the Discord.
You still get in the Discord, and you are an honorary member of the Patreon Discord, although it's going to be like spoiler heavy in there with all of our bonus content. That's where a lot of people talk about like the early episode comes out, and you guys can chat about it in there way ahead of time. And then
that's true. I didn't think about it in that way.
And those guys, I've noticed you guys going onto YouTube and leaving comments like immediately before you could have possibly watched the episode. Like, I know you guys are Patreon people. You have the same username sometimes. So yeah, highly encouraged behavior, all of it. Please keep doing all that stuff. We love seeing your guys. We get a lot of love on the show. A lot of stuff comes into email. A lot of stuff comes into social media, especially Instagram right now. You guys are DMing the living crap out of me, and it's been really cool. Like we said, we're going to get to the replies eventually. And just in our regular email on our Patreon, you guys are great. Quick reminder, we're going to be adding a feature to the $10 and up tier, Electrum tier and up. If you send us a message on Patreon that you want read on the show, we are going to review that thing and read it on the show in the long rest. It's not happening in these episodes, but this is the last episode of the year.
Yep.
So starting next year, we're going to start doing that. We love hearing from you guys. We want to broadcast to you guys. You guys have a lot of interesting things to say, includes things like, I have a dragon I'm running. What do I do? You can ask Will and I for insight on that. Things of that nature. If you just want to say what's up, we'll read that too. As a thank you to you guys for helping support the show. Please check out Super Quest Saga. It is a great 5e live play game where we are in space, and it's fucking awesome. So check it out. Do you want to get back to the show?
Let's get back to the show.
Let's get back to the show.
All right, we're back.
We've returned.
Talking about Flumphs, the new Flumphs, the modern Flumph, if you will.
The modern Flumph.
The smarter, more sage-like Flumph.
The sleeker, more aerodynamic, fuel-efficient Flumph.
It's true. So these Flumphs are naturally telepathic creatures that actually feed by siphoning mental energy from other psionic creatures.
That's Underdarky.
Which, yeah, fortunately for them is that psychic creatures in the Underdark are somewhat abundant.
Yes.
But unfortunately for them, they're also pretty much exclusively simultaneously evil and powerful.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like very evil and very powerful. The Flumph is neither.
So you're going to try to catch like a stray illithid or something?
So
and like swarm it?
Right. Not really. So because of this, Flumph cloisters are usually found near illithid colonies, or aboleth layers, where they live as passive parasites, taking only the amount of mental energy they need, but never enough for the aboleth or mind flayers to notice or feel the discomfort.
Okay, that's a really good pick.
Yeah, it's like they live nearby, but not close enough to like get caught up in the crosshairs. But in truth, neither aboleths nor illithids take much notice of Flumphs, who are easy to forget about and can serve them no real purpose, like because they're really weak creatures that don't do anything.
Yeah, greedy Flumphs get destroyed and eaten or whatever. So the breeding, the natural selection there is like, this is where we're at.
Yeah. So unfortunately for Flumphs, consuming psionic energy of another reveals their thoughts and emotions to the Flumph. Being lawful good creatures that they are and being quite sensitive to the emotional state of others, this makes the relationship Flumphs have with their food very complicated. Since so many creatures upon which the Flumph feeds are evil, Flumphs are often subjected to thoughts, emotions, and hungers that sicken their pure nature.
Ooh, this is
Yeah, I know.
That's yucky.
I know. So when a Flumph encounters a more powerful creature of good than itself, which is any creature of good because they're very weak, it will often eagerly share the dark secrets it's learned in the high hopes of casting down the evil beings.
Please, I have to tell somebody.
I know.
I am what I eat.
Even if this means losing their source of food and being forced to seek out nourishment elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a weird. These are a weird monster.
Yeah, they're spiritually torn constantly.
Yeah, they don't live happy lives, man.
They're lawful good, but they're lawful sad.
They're lawful sad indeed. So Flumphs live in harmonious groupings where each Flumph has a place and purpose. These groups have no leaders since all Flumphs contribute in their own way. On very rare occasions, Flumphs are known to take in abandoned or lost mind witnesses who will immediately assimilate to Flumph mentality and serve as a form of protection for the community. I don't know if you remember in the Beholder episode, we spoke about the mind witness very briefly.
We were going to cover that's a long time ago.
A very long time ago. We were going to do a Beholderkin episode at some point.
That's right. We've talked about that too.
But essentially, a mind witness is what happens when an illithid colony captures a beholder and subjects it to whatever their metamorphosis is called. I can't remember.
Oh, where they stick them in the tank? Or whatever that was.
And basically the product of which is a thing called a mind witness, which it looks kind of like a beholder, but rather than have a big old mouth, it has like 2 lamprey suckers on its side.
Nice.
Okay. And it's got tentacles everywhere.
Jeez.
And
to think of that monster being captured.
Well, they don't get captured. So the way, so hold on, let me finish explaining mind witnesses. So mind witnesses will serve the illithids loyally because they are genetically made to be submissive.
Sure.
And they have naturally powerful psionic boosting abilities. So a strong colony will have like 5 or 6 mind witnesses just boosting everyone's power.
Totally.
Sometimes though, let's say a colony gets destroyed and a mind witness is kind of just left alone. It'll just kind of wander mindlessly. And if Flumphs come across it, the Flumphs will take it in as one of their own. And because it's so submissive, it will just begin to serve the Flumphs. And because
I'll be your food.
Yeah. Well, I guess they could eat off it if they want to. They probably would.
That's probably ideal because it's just like this passive thing. And as long as they, treat it like a farm and don't reduce the soil to ash.
Yeah. And because Mind Witness is capable of self-defense, they're actually fairly powerful. It's a great protection for the community. So
that's a cool
I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah.
That's how you know if you find a stray mind witness and the room smells like shit. There's probably a lot of Flumphs in there.
It's funny that you mentioned smells like shit because we're actually gonna get into some of the self-defense maneuvers that Flumphs have.
I mean, why is it funny? We've already established that it's a fart monster.
Yeah, but we didn't. Okay, well, let me just get into it. So when it comes to self-defense, Flumphs have limited options.
Yeah, totally.
Their tentacles.
Wonder where you're going with this.
Their tentacles can do acid damage, but not very much. Mm-hmm. Their best bet when coming into close contact with hostile creatures is their stench spray. This defense spray fires out from one of its many orifices. Mm-hmm. It is an extremely foul-smelling liquid, powerful enough to induce multiple rounds of severe nausea.
What is this game? We've come across so many ridiculous ass things in this game.
I love this monster. So yeah, they have a stench spray.
Yeah, dude. Let me just include a little bit of liquid in my fart.
So to add to their already fragile nature, Flumphs have one very, very effective weakness: being turned upside down.
All the fluid runs into their mouth and they're grossed out.
So the anti-gravity field that they produce is pointed below their bodies, making it completely useless when the Flumph is turned over. Its tentacles possess little physical strength, and thus they won't be able to turn themselves over. And a Flumph will also pin its own eye stalks down, since its eye stalks are on top of its body. So turning a Flumph over immediately defeats it.
Immediately
defeats it.
Nice.
So it's a very weak monster. Any questions about Flumphs before we look at the stat block?
I had a really cool idea for a dark elf character.
Yeah.
Maybe you can name them after I tell you the concept.
Okay.
But they've captured 2 Flumphs, this dark elf, and they've psychically charged the Flumphs to be like extremely durable and powerful, and they wear them on their feet and use them as gravity boots. And they ride the Flumphs around the Underdark.
No.
What's their name? It's like Funky Kong. Think of Funky Kong, but a dark elf with Flumphs on the feet.
I got nothing.
Hit me up in the comments if you figure out a name for my dark elf Flumph character.
All right, let's go over the Flumph stat block, which I pulled up here. It's actually a fatter stat block than you'd think for such a weak monster.
I mean, they have a lot of cool little interesting things about them.
Yeah, they
several
do.
different parts. Interesting
Right.
parts.
So a Flumph is a small aberration, lawful good. Armor class of 12, hit points of 7 hit points for this poor son of a bitch.
I was gonna say that's a pretty high AC for what I was picturing, but that makes sense.
They have a speed of 5 feet, which I think should be a speed of 0 because they shouldn't have a land speed, but they have a flying speed of 30 feet.
Okay, yeah.
Strength is a 6, so that's a -2. Dexterity is a 15. Constitution's 10. Intelligence 14. Wisdom 14. Charisma 11. They are skilled in Arcana, History, and Religion. They are, they're vulnerable to psychic damage? Oh, no.
That's not good.
No, I guess it's because, they're sensitive to other people's thoughts and stuff.
They're just
They're sensitive to their food.
Well, they're sensitive to their food, weaponizing the energy against it.
If someone fucking attacked me with a giant steak, it would hurt.
It kind of makes sense. If you're just this, your skin or whatever it is, your persona is you can easily transmit psychic energy through you.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you're vulnerable to it.
Right,
as
sure.
As a weaponized thing, it pass through you easier, however psychic damage works.
They have dark vision. They understand undercommon, but can't speak, but they can speak telepathy. So they can speak anything.
So telepathy, I think you just need a creature that can speak and understand one language and you can communicate.
They are challenge rating of 1/8, which is 1 step above 0.
So you need a lot of them to make them a worthy enemy. You're just going to be running through this with your sword, exploding these things.
A straight massacre.
They're just going to blow up into
also,
a gas
if you're
fume,
fighting these Flumphs, that you're probably a very evil person because they're very nice.
Yeah, they're not trying to fight you.
Yeah, the quote underneath their name in the monster manual is "Always trust a Flumph."
Always trust a Flumph.
Because they're so nice and good.
Dark Elf Santa Claus has a sleigh and there's just 12 Flumphs out there.
So they have an ability called Advanced Telepathy. A Flumph can perceive the content of any telepathic communication used within 60 feet of it, and it can't be surprised by creatures with any form of telepathy. So that's nice. It's really hard for Illithids or Aboleths to sneak up on them, which is probably good.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The next feature they get is called Prone Deficiency. If a Flumph is knocked prone, roll a die. On odd result, the Flumph lands upside down and is incapacitated. At the end of each of its turns, the Flumph can make a DC 10 dexterity saving throw, righting itself and ending the incapacitated condition if it succeeds. Next feature it gets is Telepathic Shroud. The Flumph is immune to any effect that would sense its emotions or read its thoughts, as well as all divination spells. Now that's interesting. So they can
Hit
protect
me with that again. I didn't quite catch that.
A Flumph is immune to any effect that would sense its emotions or read its thoughts, as well as all divination spells. So you can't really track them down. They can hide their tracks pretty well, which makes sense. They got to be stealthy.
Yeah, totally. They got to avoid all this
danger
sensory
everywhere.
Stuff.
Yeah. So that's it for the features. They get 2 actions. The first action is called Tendrils. It's a weapon attack with tentacles. +4 to hit. Reaches 5 feet. 1 creature. 1d4 + 2 piercing damage. I guess they have spines on the end of their tentacles. Plus 1d4 acid damage. At the end of each of its turn, the targets must make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw, taking 1d4 acid damage on a failure or ending the reoccurring acid damage on a success. Now, this is the first instance I've seen of what in 4th edition is called save ends. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you remember from our one session of 4E, but there was a lot of ongoing damage in 4E, and it was always save ends. So you would take ongoing 5 damage every turn until you save. And
there are plenty of spells like that now.
Are there ongoing? I guess they're phrased a little differently.
Yeah, but they're wisdom saves.
Yeah, I'm used to attacks from monsters from 4E that do exactly this.
Yeah, there's definitely it's been changed.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Their attacks, nothing to sneeze at if you're level 1. Holy shit.
That's a cool extra if you're doing an Underdark campaign and you you form an ally with this cloud of flumphs, which I would, like Murder of Crows, cloud of flumphs.
Yeah, sure.
A cloud. It's a fart-based joke.
Yes, I get it. I get it. God damn it. What was I going to say? How embarrassing if you went down to a cloister of flumphs. If you died
to one?
to flumphs.
Oh yeah, that would be embarrassing.
It looks distinctly possible at level 1. Like a gang of flumphs will fucking murder you.
Anytime I'm playing video games and I get killed by fart monsters, I'm embarrassed.
Indeed,
you're absolutely right.
The only other feature they have is a once a day called stench spray. Each creature in a 15-foot cone originated from the Flumph must succeed a DC 10 dexterity saving throw or be coated in a foul-smelling liquid. A coated creature exudes a horrible stench for 1d4 hours. The coated creature is poisoned as long as the stench lasts, and other creatures are poisoned while within 5 feet of the coated creature.
Oh my God.
A creature can remove the stench on itself by using a short rest to bathe in water, alcohol, or vinegar.
Really not, I guess the tomato paste thing.
Yeah, although it doesn't say tomato paste.
Oatmeal,
Sure, any of that.
Yeah, any of those.
So any questions about the Flumph, Brian?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
What if I repitch this as the Farctopus?
I mean, yeah, it's essentially what it is.
Would you accept that name?
I mean, I like Flumph.
Yeah, you can't say Farctopus.
No, I like the Flumph.
Sky skunk.
It's a charming little creature, even if it's disgusting.
Sure. It's a disgustingly. It's lovable. Sure.
Yeah, except for don't get too close.
Yeah, don't get too close. Or do. It sounds like it can emit non-smelly farts versus smelly farts.
Right.
Because the non-detection thing, the room probably doesn't smell like shit unless they've been fighting.
I mean, if they're secreting a foul stench from the same holes they're blowing air out of, that air puffs, they got to smell at least a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, like a faint, like a really faint one that dissipates quickly.
Yeah, that's gross.
They just have a gland in the fart hole that opens up and lets out the spray.
I have a really sensitive gland. It goes off sometimes.
Oh, no. Yeah, Farctopus, for sure.
This is a good ending of the year to the Dungeoncast.
Let's get ready to go to sleep.
I'm extraordinarily sick right now, and I feel like I'm falling into Dayquil-influenced delirium. So let's take a long rest.
Are you sure? It could just be the episode content.
It could be that too. It could be
both.
So before we go, I'd like to encourage our audience to check out our live 5e D&D game, Super Quest Saga, where we sit around the table, play some Dungeons and Dragons in space. It's a sci-fi fantasy adventure. It's a lot of fun.
I can't believe we squeezed this much time out of this fart monster. Let's check out Super Quest Saga. And this is the part, usually we'll do our little plug thing as we do in the short rest in this section of the episode. And then I want to start letting people know, this is where I would read a message from Patreon. And then I don't know if we'll have seen it already, or if you just want me to read them to you and you can react quote unquote live.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. We're gonna figure all that out. But start sending us messages, because it's gonna be kind of embarrassing if we don't have any. I'm sure there's
none.
I'm positive that there are a certain group of people that will send us those messages.
Yeah, it's very true.
But it's open to anybody. $10 and up on Patreon.
With that being said, I think we can call it a game, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye.
The Dungeoncast.